Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on, YouTube? Good afternoon. You've tuned into Rules for Rebels. And the title of today's video is Binance locking out US users and how to prepare for the September 12th ban on US users on Binance. I know that's probably a long title. When I actually post it, I'll refine it a bit. But most important thing, and I think something that everybody should be aware of, there are a number of people reporting that they are unable to pull their funds off of Binance. Now, for anybody who has been in a cave for the past couple weeks, who trades crypto, or maybe you've just been kind of out of the crypto space for a while, but you still have, maybe a couple $100 sitting on Binance or something like that. A couple weeks back, Binance announced that September 12th, they're going to be I shouldn't even say locking out US users. US users are no longer going to be able to deposit, and they're no longer going to be able to trade. At least according to Binance, US users will still be able to withdraw, although I would recommend getting your money off of Binance long before September 12th. We all know what happens when there's a lot of activity on an exchange. We saw back in 2017 during like the crypto frenzy of November and December, a lot of exchanges completely shut down new registrations, and you would think they would want more customers, right? But they couldn't even handle the load. So like Bittrex, Poloniex, Binance all said we're shutting down registrations, and for about a period of probably a month, if not longer, they weren't even taking new users. And same thing's going to happen when you have 15% of Binance's traffic is from the US. When you have 15% of, I don't even know how many users Binance has. I remember at one point I think they got 1 million registrations within a single day, and so at this point it's probably 3, 4, 5 million people. When you have 15% of several million people all trying to pull money off, I would anticipate having some issues, overloading their systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would get your money off Binance long before September 12th. However, already, again, technically this shouldn't be going into place for a couple months. Already there's been a lot of people reporting that they're having trouble getting their money off of Binance. Now, I don't mean to spread any FUD. I will say I was able to pull a 5-figure amount off of Binance last week. I'd been, I threw some decent money into Binance, was kind of swing trading BNB, but then I got my money off, and I was able to pull out, I don't know, about 15, 18 grand off of Binance. No issues whatsoever. Went to my Trezor pretty quickly, so I didn't have any issues. This doesn't seem to be like a hugely widespread issue. Like, I'm not making it out to be like every US Binance user is having issues, but it's more than just a random story here or there. If you go on, there's a bunch of Binance subreddits and even the cryptocurrency subreddit, but specifically the Binance ones, r/Binance probably being the main one. There are a lot of people reporting that they're getting error messages and they're unable to withdraw from Binance, and then they're being prompted to verify. So these are people with unverified accounts. Binance would let you give them really nothing more than an email address, so you didn't have to KYC or anything, and you could pull off 2 Bitcoins per day, which, at today's value, that's about what, $23,000. So that was always one of the good things about Binance, is you could pull a shitload of money off of Binance without having to give them any info, without having to KYC. And for anybody, I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent here, but for anybody who's like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, who cares about KYC? Just recently we heard, and I made a video about it the other day, Quadriga CX, that Canadian exchange where the guy faked his death and ran off with all the money, he was using, obviously he was an exchange, so people KYC'd his account. He was using his customers' personal information, I'm guessing their IDs and their socials, to open up margin accounts at other exchanges. So for anybody who's like, well, why do you have an issue KYCing? Because, there's always a risk of some crazy, first off, an exchange who has your info could get hacked like Binance did, and now your info is out there on the dark web or whatever. But also, you never know when some crazy shit will happen, man. Someone who owns an exchange decides to use your personal info to do his own trading or open up margin accounts. So whenever possible, I think most of us want to avoid KYC. Another kind of tangent, one of the few places you are still able to buy Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin anonymously is, well, of course I'm having a brain fart right now. Local Bitcoins used to be the place. Local Bitcoins started requiring KYC. Man, it's not BISC. I'll drop a link to it below. It's totally escaping my mind right now. But like I said, there are enough people raising issues about having trouble withdrawing funds from Binance, that it is enough to be kind of a concern. I would personally, you know, I'll say I pulled pretty much all my money off of Binance. I think I got about 200 bucks on there, sitting in like Cardano or something right now. And I may kind of keep that or play around with that until September 12th, but I wouldn't leave any significant amounts of money on Binance from here moving forward. You know, for me, that amount is a couple $100. You know, I don't know what your risk profile is. If I lose my 200 bucks, so be it, I lost my 200 bucks. But anything more than that, I'm not really willing to lose, or at the very least, I'd be kind of pissed off if I lost. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. Supposedly we have a Binance.us rolling out. Don't really have a clear indication of whether it will be out before September 12th or after. I have a feeling it'll probably be out before, but you know, who knows. Binance hasn't really given us a ton of info about this, and whenever people start asking deep questions, Binance's answer is kind of like, you know, blame your government, it's not our fault, which valid point, you know, it isn't Binance's fault. They've been able to kind of avoid the SEC and a lot of the U.S. Laws and regulations and things like that up until this point by being in Malta. However, it seems like it's finally starting to get to the point where they're just going to have to kind of cave to the U.S. government. What'll be interesting to see is how strict Binance is on like geo-blocking people. So what I mean by that is some exchanges, I forget whether it was Bitfinex or BitMax, but some of these like options and futures exchanges, some of these exchanges that, you know, have tokens that aren't allowed in the U.S. It was either one of those two. You could technically, you weren't supposed to use it if you were from the U.S., but as long as you registered from a non-US IP address, so if you used a VPN and logged in from a non-US IP address to register, from there on forward, you could log into IP addresses all day long. So as long as I set up my account from an IP address in South Korea, Bosnia, Herzegovina, anywhere but the US, I could log in from a US IP address all day long after that, and it wouldn't cause any issues. I hear a lot of people saying, well, you know, I'm just going to start using a VPN and continue using my Binance account. We don't know how strict Binance is going to be, but what I would say is kind of risky is if you set up your account from a US IP address, and or if you've ever logged into your account from a US IP address, if you do want to roll the dice and continue using Binance, if it were me, I would, you know, close out the existing account, send all my money off, and then I would open a fresh account, logging in from a VPN and never logging in from a US IP address ever again. If I were going to do it, that's how I would do it. Although personally, I'm not even going to mess with Binance anymore after this. Binance US, what's Binance US going to look like? I'll probably set up an account on there, but here's the reality of it, is Binance.us is going to look nothing like Binance.com. It's going to look more like a Coinbase or a Bittrex. Up until recently, Bittrex had a decently respectable amount of coins, although recently Bittrex, like about a week and a half ago, Bittrex delisted something like 44 coins. I believe they did another 22 coins. So really Binance US is going to look something like Coinbase. Obviously there's a lot of coins out there that the US considers securities, and US citizens are not going to be able to trade in those coins. And a lot of like the AML policies, SEC stuff is like up to interpretation. So Coinbase is very conservative, right? So Coinbase, that's why Coinbase only has what, like 7 coins on it or whatever it is. Some exchanges like Poloniex and Bittrex have a few more coins than Coinbase, so they're a little bit riskier. Binance seems to be a company who's willing to kind of push the envelope a little bit. So I do think Binance.us will be better than, say, Coinbase, for example, but it's going to be nothing like the Binance that you're used to. The big question that a lot of people are wondering about is Binance's coin, Binance's exchange coin, the BNB coin. Initially, I was saying there was going to be about a 50-50 shot whether Binance.us had BNB. At this point, I'm 99.9% sure that BNB will not be listed on Binance.us. I watched a great video on this topic the other day, and I'm going to link to it down below. Essentially, there's an exchange called Huboi, H-U-B-O or H-U-B-O-I or something like that. And this Huboi exchange, or whatever it's called, Binance actually hired the founder, CEO, whatever it is, from Huboi who did make the transition from being like a Chinese exchange to a US exchange. Binance essentially hired him on as a consultant to help them do essentially the same thing. And Kucoin does not have their own native coin on their US exchange. So I'm kind of making a bad case for this, but if I should be able to find this video that this kid did. It was probably, in my opinion, the most informative and well thought out video on this whole Binance situation that I've seen to date. So I'm going to find it in my YouTube watch history and link to that below. But there is like almost zero chance of BNB coin being on Binance.us. So I forgot what the rest of this video was supposed to be about. I think it was going to be, where do we go from here? So I have set up accounts with Gate.io and Kucoin. If you guys have any better options, or if you guys have one that you would recommend that I explore, or another option, I'm open to suggestions. Drop a comment down in the comment section below. If you have a referral link, drop the referral link. I'd be happy to use your referral to sign up. The reasons that I gravitated towards Gate.io and Kucoin is, one, they haven't made any announcements about blocking US users or having any intention of doing so, and both Gate.io and Kucoin are dealing with the BNB coin, which I'm a little bit less bullish on BNB than I was before, but I still do like BNB coin. One thing that's interesting, I've been hearing a lot of people saying like, oh, BNB's rallying, man, BNB at $38, BNB at $39, and I will say BNB's holding up better than some other coins, but if you don't just want to look at dollars, because right now Bitcoin's going through the roof, and Bitcoin raises all ships, right? So when Bitcoin goes up, it looks like altcoins go up, although in reality, if your goal is to stack Satoshis or gain more Bitcoin, what you'll actually notice is that in US dollar or fiat value, your altcoin is gaining money, but against the Bitcoin pair, it's actually losing money. And what I mean by this is, if we look at, I might be messing up a decimal point here, but if we look at Binance against the BNB pair, when I first started swing trading it was like 0.0034 and some change. Right around the time then it went from like 0.00034 to 0.00036, then 0.00038. I wrote it up all the way to like 0.00042 or something like that. And then after it was announced that Binance was banning US users, it kind of fell down to about 38. In fiat value, it looked like Binance was rising. Binance coin or BNB coin went from like $35 to $38 or even $39. However, if you watched it against the BNB pair, it went from like 42 to 41 to 40 to 38 to 36. And I think I checked earlier today, and even though Binance has fallen in fiat a little bit, it's down to maybe $37, $38. But if you look at it in terms of the BNB pair, I'm sorry, the Bitcoin BNB pair, it's down to like 0.00034, 0.0033. It might even be 0.00032. So it looks like it's gaining in fiat, and it is, but in comparison to Binance or to Bitcoin, it's actually losing. I realize that was a really confusing rant, but if anybody can explain that more clearly than myself, please do so below. So yeah, we talked about kind of what the issue is, the problems with people getting money off of Binance right now. I mentioned I've opened up accounts with Kucoin and Gate.io. I would recommend people start opening, if you plan on trading altcoins on different exchanges, just like we saw in 2017 when a lot of exchanges got overloaded with users and couldn't take new people, and people were locked out of exchanges like Binance for weeks or even months. I think exchanges are much more, I think the entire crypto space is much more prepared for another bull run and another rush of the masses of people to come in. But if Bitcoin really starts running, if Bitcoin and really all cryptos really start running like a lot of people think they will, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that all over again. So I mean, I guess kind of what I'm saying is, it costs nothing to open up an exchange. It's just like setting up an email address or a social media account. You might as well go start setting up some different exchange accounts right now. If you never use them, so be it. It didn't cost you a penny to set them up. But if Binance shuts down, if there's some new altcoin that you want to trade, at least you have the option, you have the account open. What's kind of interesting right now is like crypto is hot right now. We're hearing a lot of good news. I know, Bakkt is rolling out with Bitcoin-backed futures later this summer. Another company just got approved yesterday or today, and I think the NASDAQ has a Bitcoin future they're proposing. And so if this lesser-known, smaller company got approved, it's pretty guaranteed that NASDAQ will as well. E-Trade and Fidelity are going to start dealing with at the very least Bitcoin, maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum later this summer. And what's kind of interesting, you guys may have seen some videos or read some blog posts about this if you follow crypto, but if you look at like the search volume for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, if you look at something like Google Trends for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, in terms of like the general public having an interest, it's like less than half, almost probably a quarter of what it was back during the bull run of 2017. So I guess kind of what I'm getting at here is, if Bitcoin is surging, from 9,000 to 11.5 over the course of a couple days, and we don't even necessarily have the general public and retail buyers in, and this is kind of all either people who were already in crypto and money that was already in crypto, as well as institutions, we haven't even seen, it's like an iceberg, we haven't even seen everything under the surface that potentially is going to come rushing in as Bitcoin, nears $20,000 or whatever else. So, trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. If there's any other kind of crypto, Bitcoin, whatever subjects that you guys want to talk about, or if you have anything to add to the discussion about the whole BNB thing, KYC regulation coming to crypto. It's kind of interesting to see how this whole Facebook Libra thing is shaking out. A lot of governments are telling Facebook to like halt this project. I know I think they're having a second congressional hearing sometime this week or next week. So any other news, issues, things you want to discuss, anything I left out, go ahead and drop a comment down in the comment section below. I think that's kind of all I got for you guys. So yeah, thumbs up, subscribe, all that good jazz, and I'll catch you in the next video.